I'm getting a little sick and tired of all these people on X and YouTube who are claiming to say, oh, I have a super secret FBI source and they told me this. Or, I just heard from Team Trump and they heard, I heard this. One of two things is true. Either they're lying, which most of them are, or they're on the take. What I mean by on the take is they're a mouthpiece for the Trump administration. I think that Donald Trump has been doing pretty well. There's been some ups, there's been some downs, but when people are just feeding you nonstop what you want to hear, you need to start looking at them a little differently. I had a little bit of a meltdown on X last night about this because I'm just so sick of it. Colleagues of mine, I just heard from a top secret source. No, you didn't. You didn't hear from anybody. If anything, you heard from Trump's own media team who told you to help quell fears. I saw a huge coordinated effort yesterday of people saying, hey, they're going to release stuff. Guys, the FBI closed the case. We're not going to prosecute anybody. But guys, they're going to release stuff. No, they aren't. Because why? Well, because I believe that they don't have anything to release. I believe anything of value has long since been destroyed, or it is so buried under lock and key that Trump and everyone else is, quite frankly, never going to see. It's never going to see the light of day. So be very wary of people that keep telling you, I have a secret source and they're going to I heard that they were going to release the files. No, you didn't. You didn't hear from anybody. You don't have any top secret sources. And quite frankly, if anybody told you to say this, it was some dork in the Trump administration that has about 15, 20 of these influencers by the short and curlies. You can pick them out very easily. Now, I don't need to name names because you already are thinking of them. Breaking news. They're going to release stuff. Breaking news. Trump said, no, they don't have any breaking news. They were sent a PR document from the Trump administration, or they're lying. One of the two is true. And yesterday, I want to show a couple examples. Here, exclusive. Laura Trump says the Trump administration will release more Epstein evidence and will have more transparency. She says that President Trump hears the base on this issue and knows it's important and that Trump will set things right. Really? They closed the case at the FBI. How can you set things right now? You just denied Ghislaine Maxwell's probation or parole request, and you turned down her offer to testify in front of Congress. What do you mean you're going to be more transparent? I'm so tired of this. Like, look, this is 1% of it. I know a lot of people are sick of hearing about it, but this is a mess that Trump's administration made for themselves. They let the Democrats masterfully gambit them to get headlines on Newsweek that say Republicans block vote to release the Jeffrey files. You know how stupid you know how bad you have to fumble to let Democrats get over on you? This is not going away. They had this dork, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey came out this morning. Oh, well, you should release the files. Kevin Spacey! If you're unaware of his history of allegations, that's a whole nother video. That's how bad that Pam Bondi has fumbled this. Pam Bondi has done so poorly. And by the way, let's not pretend that Trump doesn't know what's going on here. Okay. The Democrats want to pass this bill or whatever that says, hey, just release all this terrible video of kids. Obviously, they can't release that, but they get the headline, right? Then you get people who are very clearly getting their marching orders from Donald Trump's PR team. Okay, like, happy Monday. Here's the latest on the fight. Well, let's see what Daily Caller has to say. Again, this is after Dan Bongino allegedly walked off the job and after the FBI already closed the investigation.
Bongino versus Bondi, where the heck are we right now with the Epstein files? Let me fill you guys in. Reagan Reese here with the Daily Caller. So last week, it was abruptly announced
By the way, no shade to this Reagan Reese individual.
that the administration had ended its investigation into the Epstein files after months of hype, and that they had found that there was no client list and that Epstein.
So no client list, nothing.
Just days later, MAGA influencers got these big white binders that said Epstein Files Phase 1. Now, with all this confusion over how this investigation ended so abruptly, Axios comes out with a report on Friday that FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino got in a huge blow-up with Pam Bondi over the Epstein Files.
Of course, because she screwed him. She made him look like a fool. She made him look like a liar. And I know Dan, he doesn't like that. I'm not surprised that I honestly, Dan has to quit. He has to. He has to quit, or he has to get these files released. That's his only two options. Unless he wants everyone to call him a stooge, which I don't think he is. You know? I don't think he is.
For the handling of the investigation, that he wanted more. He didn't want it to be over. And so he ultimately gave an ultimatum to the White House. It's me or Bondi. Then over the weekend, President Trump put out a Truth Social.
And so he didn't quit. Again, you can't say it's me or them. Now, we don't know for an absolute fact, right, that he said that. That's like walking into your boss's office and saying, if you don't give me a 10% raise, I'm going to quit, and then not quitting. Again, Benny Johnson doesn't run his own Twitter account. There are thousands of examples, Cat Turd and many other people who are parroting the same nonsense, the same pre-scripted communications from the Trump administration. I will never be one of these people, which is why I'll never have a massive successful channel like Benny Johnson. No, like real recognized real guys can have 10 million subscribers in a year, but he's getting this stuff from the Trump administration. Just got off the phone with a top federal law enforcement contact. Who's your top federal law enforcement contact? And why are they telling a YouTuber, by the way, about FBI business? You either talk to Dan Bongino directly, or you have no source, or you were told this by the Trump administration. Okay. Again, read this tweet. Important notice. Expect more disclosures. Some very powerful people inside the admin are now pushing for a special counsel and full press briefings on the Jeffrey findings. You closed the case. Am I taking crazy pills? The FBI closed the case. There's nothing else to talk about. What are you talking about? There's more coming. Baloney. You could send Laura Trump out there. By the way, I don't think it's a coincidence that Benny Johnson says all this stuff, right? And then is also the guy that interviews Laura Trump on the same day. And then Laura Trump says, well, there's more stuff coming. BS. I am over hearing that it's coming, especially when the way you're moving in the background, okay? The way you're actually moving is to not release a single damn thing. Okay, you were never going. Let's just be honest. You were never going to release anything. There probably isn't anything of value to release. And it's just like, look at the JFK files. They released almost nothing new. Nobody's mad about those because, quite frankly, that was a long time ago, and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel did not run for their positions on them guaranteeing that they would release these files. Oh yeah, Kash. How's turning the FBI into a museum on day one going, by the way? Remember when Kash Patel said, do not redeem it. I will turn the FBI into a museum on day one. Yeah, all you're doing is putting them in a brand new fancy building. I don't see the FBI getting smaller, although that's what he said he would do. And here's what here's what Pam Bondi's actually doing, okay? That all of the mega influencers aren't talking about. Did you see one of them talking about this yesterday? Trump's DOJ makes decision on Ghislaine Maxwell case. The Justice Department will not be letting Ghislaine Maxwell off the hook for a role in the trafficking ring. Currently serving a 20-year prison sentence, Maxwell's lawyers argue that she shouldn't have been put on trial in the first place because of the plea deal that our corrupt FBI gave Jeffrey back in 2008. I agree. But Donald Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi, And her DOJ responded in a filing on Monday saying that the Supreme Court will not take up her case. Essentially, you're going to sit in prison for the duration of your 20-year sentence. And by the way, she did a lot of evil. She did a lot of bad things. And so I'm totally fine with her serving the maximum sentence, all 20 years of her 20-year sentence, because even if our government won't tell you who she trafficked people to, I think it's pretty clear she did. Okay? But that's what, did you see Benny Johnson or Cat Turd talking about how Pam Bondi quietly said, nah, we're not going to hear your case at the Supreme Court, which could actually lead to discovery? That's why they don't want any more talk about this. That's what's really happening. They're buttoning everything up behind the scenes. Remember yesterday when I said Ghislaine wanted to testify in front of Congress? That's not going to happen. Why? Why wouldn't that happen? I thought we had the most transparent administration in history. Remember, and all those people that got those white binders said that? You guys see this, right? I know you love these people, okay? But you see this, right? Remember when they got caught literally copy pasting each other's tweets about the phase 1 files? And then they came on like, well, you know, wasn't that Gunther Eagleman and DC Drano copy pasting the same thing? Everyone involved saying the most transparent. You think they just happened to come to that conclusion? No, they were told what to say by the Trump administration in exchange for access. Just be careful out there who is feeding you what you want to hear and who is willing to lose you as a subscriber to try and say the truth. There is zero indication we are getting any of these files, and anybody who's claiming as fact that we are, or there's going to be more, is probably being either dishonest or they're being told to say that by somebody in the Trump administration. Mark my words, I've been doing this a lot longer than any one of these people who are Johnny-come-lately mega influencers. I will be right on this. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.